Kyle Austin, Mike Griffith here at Spartan Stadium after Mark D'Antonio's weekly press conference. And Mike, the big game's over Oregon, but there's some interesting things about Air Force that I think some fans are going to be surprised what they see on Saturday.
Yeah, well, option football, if you like option football, it's like Mark D'Antonio said, Air Force, Navy, Georgia Tech, these are the premier option teams. And while a lot of teams run some dimensions of the options, these guys are the experts at it. And I think the thing that's the most concerning from Michigan State is the cut blocking part of it. There's a lot of cut blocking near the line of scrimmage where these blockers will go low. It's a bit of an equalizer for smaller, aggressive guys that Air Force is going to have. And it puts a lot of fear of injury into defenders, Kyle. And talking with the Ohio State beat writer who played Navy last year, he said, you know, as much as Ohio State struggled with Navy, it was the following week where that game really hit them. Following week, they lost to Virginia Tech.
You know, it's funny. I remember back to last year, Shalik Calhoun in a candid moment. You know, you think back to their bowl game last year. Everyone thought they were going to play Georgia Tech,
right?
And they ended up playing Baylor. And people obviously make a big deal about Baylor's offense, how much they can score. But Shalik Calhoun actually said, "God, I was so much happier when we got Baylor compared to Georgia Tech because, especially for a defensive end, that's a defensive end's nightmare. You get spread so far to the outside. There's so much space you got to cover as a defensive end." With that spread. So I think Michigan State is in a good position because they've got good defensive end, but that's really where you get stretched and that's where you get challenged. I think is the defense against the
Yeah, and even in the preseason when Shalik was on the Big Ten show and they asked him, how do you prepare for Oregon? And he said, we really need to be worried about Air Force. And a lot of people laughed, but that tells you where his mind is at and where the mind of these defenders are at. And then conversely, you know, the Michigan State offense will be seeing another 3-4 look. Spartans offense really didn't finish that game off too impressively against Oregon. They failed to get a first down and consecutive drives, really kind of hung the defense out to dry, and it was the defense that won that game. So as impressive as Michigan State's offense has looked at times, Kyle, I'm not overly impressed, and I don't think it's anywhere close to having arrived.
No, and I would expect to see a better week out of that for a couple reasons. I mean, I think Connor Cook knows that he didn't give his best performance, and they haven't really had a standout offensive game yet, I think. And I think they know that this is a tough week for Michigan State's defense, so I think maybe the offense thinks the onus is on them a little bit this week, and maybe we see a 40-point game.
I think they need to have that sort of performance. Michigan State recently moved up to number 4 in the polls, even garnered a couple of first-place votes, and that's well and good. But this is where human nature, complacency can set in. But Mark D'Antonio today says at any point the bottom can drop out. So he's not mincing words. He's letting his team know that they certainly haven't arrived. And while he's proud of them and certainly appreciative of where the Spartans are at right now, they've been down this road before. He pointed out, Kyle, in 2008, this was a team that started 8-0, in 2010, and a team started 8-0, and everybody remembers how that season ended at the Capital One Bowl, Alabama winning 49-7. So I don't think anybody's going to get too comfortable around here, and I'm pretty sure Mark D'Antonio is going to make sure they don't get complacent.
Well, it is a bit of new territory for this group, at least the group that's here now, because you talk about the top 5 finishes from the last couple of years, the record, but they've always dropped a game early and kind of had to work their way back into the top 5. To me, being in the top 5 now and probably being in the top 5 for the next couple of months, that's new territory for them. I asked Mark D'Antonio today about being the hunted, which is a lot we heard. I think he feels his team is comfortable kind of being the hunted, being a top 5 team that's really going to get everybody's best effort, ready to knock them off. But it's something they really haven't experienced week to week, I don't think, and we'll see how they deal with it the next couple of weeks.
Well, we will. And Kyle, I think you were the one that noted that game against Oregon was the first time that they played in Spartan Stadium as a top 5 team since 1967. So now you've got 3 noon games coming up. It's going to be hard for Michigan State fans and in the players to match that environment. I know John Lewandowski told us, Phil Knight said that was the best environment he had ever seen for either a pro or college football game. Phil Knight, of course, the co-founder of Nike and CEO, big Oregon booster, who was here. We saw him up near us in the press box. But it's going to be hard for Michigan State to match that in any capacity, from the players, from the intensity, from the fans, the environment. For the fans that were there, you were part of something pretty special, a part of history. And from those who weren't, well, you got the rest of the season to maybe jump on board to a program that could be headed for the college football playoffs, Kyle.
Yeah, I think a lot of interesting stuff going on. Obviously, we're past Oregon, but I think there's a lot of interesting stuff looking forward to this week between the option and all those different
new personnel, Felton Davis now on the depth chart.
So that'll do it for this week. We'll see you on Saturday here from Spartan Stadium, noon kickoff versus Air Force, and talk to you then.
Yeah.